right, folks, welcome into another great episode of I've Got a Theory. I'm your host, Henish Pulical, and I'm on with my friend Leo Allen, calling in from Cincinnati.
Good evening.
Yeah, welcome onto the show. And we've got some cool stuff to discuss, but I have to spend a few seconds. Hey guys, this is Henish with I've Got a Theory, and I wanted to share a new podcast that I discovered recently called Signal. It's SYGNYL. And it's super interesting. We're going to play a trailer at the end of our episode here. And it's just launched. It's a participatory arts podcast, which invites listeners to explore the hidden world all around them. So there's going to be little challenges. It's collaborative. You can print out worksheets. And I've been following along raptly because it's super cool. It's subtle, and you wouldn't know how into it you can get. And there's already 2 episodes out so far, so I'm rolling with it. SYGNYL, Signal. So Leo, talk to me about your theory. What do we need to know about? How are we gonna expand our awareness of the world and our understanding of science and life as we know it?
Time travel.
Yep.
So I don't know how many people are into like science fiction or
everyone.
Yeah.
Isn't life science fiction until it just becomes science?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, but especially when it comes to things like, I'll give a perfect example, The Flash. They love to throw in time travel, and if you notice, it always messes up the story. So they write themselves into a corner, and their only answer is, "Oh, well, it's a multiverse." But I really don't like that at all. I'm like, that's a writer's crutch.
And I rewatched 1 and 2 of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the holy grail of time travel movies, I would argue. It's probably one of the best time travel movies. And they get a lot of the details right. I don't know. I mean, with the people disappearing in the pictures and rewriting history, and he goes back, and then Biff is the guy that's washing his car instead of his dad's boss. That kind of stuff is interesting. But then, like, what about all the stuff along the way? Right. You miss those kind of things. And it's a multiverse. It's like, well, how about your whole childhood where your dad was this loser guy and Biff was the boss? Where did that go in this alternate, theory? Anyway, so continue on. But I don't know The Flash as well. That's why I went to Back to the Future, because I just know that movie a little bit better.
But that kind of hits on my point. Usually in these movies or shows, they'll say, okay, we're going back to when this happened. Okay, that's fine. They usually go to some historic event. We can all say, well, this was the day that this happened. But the problem with traveling in the past, first of all, my theory is there's no way you could do it, because once something happens, it's over. Otherwise, you have to believe that somewhere the same events are happening over and over and over again. And not just big events. For example, when you blink, apparently that blink is happening somewhere infinitely over and over again for you to be able to go back to that point in time.
So what you're getting at is effectively time travel is not possible.
Not to the past.
Not to the past. To the future?
I do believe time travel to the future is possible.
Okay.
Simply because of this. Now, I think everyone knows by now that technically time is man-made. It's a man-made construct. So time is relative to you. So the way I believe you can travel into the future is if we could find a way to develop suspended animation, cryogenics.
Correct.
So basically, if you were frozen today, as far as you know, that's the end of time. 100 years from now, when you are awakened, to you've just traveled 100 years into the future.
You could make that argument about any time you sleep, right? If I take a nap at noon and I wake up at 2:00, I'm like, well, I just forwarded through two hours of my life and I've time traveled into it, because I don't know what just happened, because my midday naps go by quick. That's because I got kids keeping me up at night still. I got young ones. So they're calling
me too. I don't know if you can hear them every once in a while.
Yeah. So all good. So, I'd say that about any sleep, whether it's cryogenic or not, is basically time travel. Like when I go to bed tonight and I wake up tomorrow, I'm in the future, and I kind of lost track of what happened in those 7 to 9 hours in between.
Or even like it's always funny because I know folks on the other side of the world, like in Japan and whatnot, and they'll say, or I'll ask them, well, what's the future like? Because they're literally 24 hours ahead of us.
Sure.
So it's like, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? And, we often make the joke, what's the lottery? What are the
of course,
numbers for tomorrow? Because they're in the future.
Right.
So,
in the Back to the Future, you want the sports book.
Yeah.
You want the almanac.
Right. So oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm listening because the time travel thing. Because we read about it in books, and there's there's Bill and Ted's excellent. There's great movies on it where they're going back and forth, and they're seeing dinosaurs or they're seeing the Stone Age and things like that. And that just doesn't seem feasible, right? But you're right. I mean, I think in the construct of space travel, time travel is kind of relevant, and I would say it becomes more relevant for non-humans. I think if we can become robots, AI, technology, then time travel is kind of possible, right? And also in the construct of simulations.
Well, according to Elon Musk, we're already in a simulation.
in a world where a simulation is possible, it's only probable, right? And so in simulations, you can go back and forth in time.
But it's a simulation. It's not real.
What's the difference between simulations and reality?
That's a good question. So how would you know you're in a simulation if you're not, you don't know the difference?
You don't. I mean, that's kind of Elon's point, and the point on that is that in a world where we could develop technology smart enough to create a simulation that's so real that the people in it believe that it's real, it probably has already happened.
It's kind of a scary thought when you put it that way,
right? I mean but that's the theory behind it, is that if it's possible, it's already probably happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so now if you can trick your mind into believing the senses that we've been input with, that's your reality, right? Even though, what kind of cruel simulation would create back pain to just be consistently nagging when they could just write that code out? Just write out that code with back pain and let me live my life.
Or migraines. Yeah. What kind of sick mind thought of that to put that in a simulation?
Yeah, they made it way too real with these little qualms that we have that are just glitches in us. And maybe it's Russian hackers. Maybe it's Russian hackers that wrote in back pain.
You're gonna need a migraine.
they're gonna write this code in, and they're gonna have to pay us some serious rubles to be able to get rid of that back pain. So where do we go from here? So with time travel into the future, we got cryogenics. That's a great way to do it, right? We kind of do suspended animation, right? Freeze me for 10, 20, 50 years. Let me see what the future's like, right? But then at the cost of losing everything along the way.
Yeah, you would miss out on a lot, but it would have to be so perfect because you can't age. If you age, then it's pointless. So,
yeah. I mean, ideally you wouldn't, right? If your cells aren't pumping, if your blood's not pumping, if your cells aren't getting older and they're not breathing, you're not deteriorating from the oxidization. But there's no shortage of people that are doing cryogenics.
Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah, they're freezing their brains. They're freezing their heads.
Supposedly Walt Disney's head is frozen somewhere.
Yeah, but even if he wasn't, I've looked into this personally. I've written papers on this 20 years ago. And initially they were freezing entire bodies, right?
Right.
And it's it isn't extraordinarily expensive. It's expensive, but it's not extraordinarily expensive. I mean, you pay X thousands of dollars now to get on the list so that if and when you die, they throw you in a bathtub full of ice as fast as they can come pick you up. And then they transport you, and then they drain your fluids, pump you with cryogenic fluids, and then they suspend you after they take your head, right? The theory being is that they could reanimate you and regrow the rest of your body or put you on a robot body. But it might be hard to recreate your brain and your synapses and your neurons and all the information you've acquired. And that might not transfer as well. So the theory is you can pop your head onto something new and you're living again.
Yeah, because then where does consciousness come from? That's something they struggle with in Westworld. Like, what is consciousness?
Yeah. And I would argue that those robots in Westworld have consciousness once they allow them to have it.
That's what it ultimately came down to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of faded off that show when they kind of took over and then they showed that that blonde lady computer where there was like, she's living in the city.
Yeah, I did too. I watched like the first episode. What was that, season 2 or 3? That's 3.
I think that was 3. I think I saw seasons 1 and 2 where they like escaped and then they took over and then they escaped Westworld. And
it's funny you say that because I watched the first episode of season 3 and I stopped. I was like,
the same. It's exactly where they lost me. Exactly where they lost me. And I was like, this, and maybe I should try it again. I'm not sure. But
I keep saying I'm going to get back to it.
Yeah, but it did, it did bring up a good point because she was like smart enough and aware enough, and she had her memories, right? And that was consciousness in that case, right? The fact that she could remember what was happening, as opposed to having her memories erased every night and starting fresh with whatever memories they wanted her to have versus what had actually happened.
Plus, I felt like that storyline, the whole episode was just jarbled together. I had a hard time keeping up with what they were doing too. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So it would be possible. So Leah, would you do it? If you had the option, if you had the bank account that said, if I die tomorrow, next year, next week, 10, 20, 30 years from now, freeze my head and I want to see the future. 20-year-old me would have said yes, but I think now I wouldn't do it. Because if you think about when would the technology come around where they would figure out how to bring you back? When I would come back, I think you would be pretty lonely because everyone you know and love would be gone. So I wouldn't. I mean, sure, there would be descendants, but they wouldn't know you. They would just know you were frozen grandpa, frozen great grandpa, or whatever. But they don't know you. You don't know them.
Yeah. But then you got to create new relationships, right? But you get to be a witness to everything else. So, knowing the people is one thing, but then, getting around in a flying car or what,
if that's ever
traveling to moon base,
to have those.
Yeah. Traveling to the moon base, traveling to the Mars base, spending some time in zero gravity, cheaper than $200,000 a pop.
But see, that's all stuff and experiences, which are great, but I'm more of like, I need more personal relationships too. So, and I don't want to start all over.
Yeah. I mean, you would have family. You've already reproduced, right? And ideally they'd continue to reproduce.
Yeah.
So you could see your descendants potentially, right?
Yeah.
And then
but again, you wouldn't know them and they wouldn't know
them.
You.
You'd have to get to know them, right? What was life back in the prehistoric 2021?
Why were you guys wearing masks all the time when all you had to do was this for that virus? Because they would have figured it out. I would hope.
Yeah.
So you guys were so stupid back then.
Or it'll evolve, and then now they're dealing with COVID 2088 or whatever it's going to
be. Yeah, I hope not. Yeah. Enough is enough with this nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a continuous thing. I feel like that it's going to keep happening. So what else with time travel? There's got to be more to this. So we're saying that we could do it with cryogenics. You're leaning against it because you value your family and your personal relationships that you've created, even at the opportunity to be able to be a witness to it all. So what's it all for? So your purpose is family. It's not as much to see and experience what's happening in the world.
And I love technology, and that's the ironic part about it. I'm all about tech, but then, like I said, as I've gotten older and thought through it, I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to do it. Now, there is one way I would do it. If you remember the movie, like Alien, that's how they did deep space travel, because, where they traveled to, what was it, 17 years away? So they were like, the only way you could do that, especially without people going crazy, is cryogenics. And most movies dealing with deep space travel, they always start off coming out of the cryogenic chambers. Now,
sure, same with Avatar, even.
Yeah, if that were the case, I would do it. I would do it for deep space exploration, because then I've already, it's like that's what I do anyway. You know what I mean? But if it was just today, they said, "Hey, we could do it for you now." But if I'm only just going to wake up and just be me, you know what I mean? Not on some mission or anything. I don't know. I could do it. So
now talking about that with you, I think I would do it if we knew where we were going. If we knew, hey, we're going to go to destination X, and good news, it's already set up. They got a McDonald's there, and you're going to post up and you're going to enjoy it, versus, hey, we're going to jump into the spaceship, freeze you guys for 20 years and see what happens. See what
exactly. Yeah.
That doesn't sound as fun. because that's like
No,
very much a crapshoot.
exactly. You're just going to wake up and like, okay, where are we?
Yeah, we're still
Well,
in
you're
deep
on the other.
space and we're still light years away from everything. So put you back in sleep? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, just to do it just for the heck of it. Uh, and you look at you know why most wealthy people do it, right?
The cryogenics?
Yeah, because wealthy people have a problem with letting go of wealth and they know you can't take it with you. So if they could always just come back to it, that's why they do it.
Do you think that's the only reason?
I think that's the number one driving force behind many wealthy people who would ever look into that, because it's, they, they can't let it go.
Huh. That's an interesting perspective. I'm sure there's an element of that, but at a certain point, if you've been wealthy for long enough, do you need the money as much as you just like to be alive and experience life?
I I think a lot of wealth just leads to that greed, and then people get to the point where they're like, "Well, I don't want to lose it, leave it behind." And yeah, you got all this wealth to experience, enjoy life, but you're gonna die, and people get so wrapped up in enjoying the life and the wealth, they don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
So if there's a way they can come back to it, they're gonna try it.
Interesting. So it's kind of like, Rick Ross and Drake saying, when I die, put the money in the grave, just like the Pharaohs did, right? They're dropping their loot with them
Yeah,
in their coffins and saying, it's coming with me to the
that's
afterlife.
humans. That's humans, man. We're greedy little creatures, right?
Yeah.
We love our stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that, and you blame evolution for that, right? We have a scarcity mindset until you can consciously overcome your scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And
And
say you don't
pride.
afford it, right? But we see it all the time. I mean, me being in real estate, I come across hoarder houses all the time where people have houses filled to the brim, top to bottom, with literally junk, but because they value with it and they think it has value, or they could sell it, or it's got some sentimental value to it. And so what people value varies from person to person. And even with money, I don't know too many rich people, but I know a handful. And I feel like they still value their experiences and their family more than their money after a certain curve, right? There's been people I've met, I'm like, I'm going to be a billionaire and I'm going to be super rich. And then at a certain point, they're like, okay, cool. We're wealthy enough. And now let me just try to spend more time with my family.
Right. And I'm not saying they don't care about those people or their experiences. I just believe I believe one of their primary driving forces to even want to do that. And I know some very wealthy people, and you can, they will never come out and just say it, but you can tell. It's like, you just don't want to get rid of this money. You want to come back to it. And I get it. I mean, especially if you have an extremely comfortable lifestyle, why would you want to leave that?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of symbolic of your efforts. I think people think that like, hey, I've worked hard to earn this and it's mine and no one should take it away from me. Right. And that's why people are against estate taxes and things like that. So when people inherit money and 50% of it goes to the government, everyone gets upset about that.
Well, I get upset about that.
No one wants the government gutting it either. Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you can't take it with you, but the last place you want to send it is to the government.
Right.
So there's that too. So interesting. So our theories kind of evolved into, not just time travel, but the reason that rich people want to do cryogenics is to have access to their cash again, right? That's accurate. I think that's the only way I could do it. If I had stockpiles of cash or Bitcoin or whatever I'm going to use in the future, I'd want to save some of that. You'd have to have some kind of trust account set up that when they reanimate me 50 years after I die, that I got something to live off of. Because I bet you the future inflation's expensive. That gallon of milk is probably going to cost $50.
Right. So yeah, and then there's that. Yeah, you don't want to come back and they go, "Oh, welcome
you're on
back,
food stamps,
and you're broke." So
yeah, welcome back. Here's your government porridge that you get to live off of 3 times a day.
Here's your EBT card, so you can go buy something. But
yeah. And so you kind of have to make that kind of consideration too, is that you need it, but then the question is like, am I coming back just because I have the money or because I want to see flying cars? Better flying cars is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I've always entertained that thought too. Like, it would be great to be able to see what's going on. I can agree with that too. But
I think we will. I mean, I think you're young. I can't tell how old you are exactly, but I'm guessing somewhere between 30 and 60 years old, where we're going to see the next 20 to 30 years of our lives. And that's almost like seeing the future because it happens so fast, right?
Yeah.
We're at a point in our lives and in human development where we're making, Moore's law type applications for everything, right? Everything's doubling every year and a half, where computers are already smarter than us, where robots can do anything better than a human, especially if they're purpose built, right? So you combine those two things, we're going to see some incredible stuff happening, especially with machine learning, especially with the algorithms, that the way that they can mutate and change and make decisions, right? Based on what the algorithms are programmed to do. I think we're going to be witness to incredible stuff.
It's out there. The problem really is at this point is just cost. You look at the robots they have at Boston Dynamics, things are amazing.
Yeah.
But they're extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's how it all starts off, right? Everything gets expensive. And then next thing you know, you're buying one for your 5-year-old.
And then the next thing you know, it's iRobot.
Right. Right.
Of that movie, by the way.
which already exists, right?
Yeah.
A company exists. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my little kids are playing with my Roomba created by iRobot.
Yeah.
And my 2-year-old legitimately is scared of it. He'll hit the button, it'll come alive, start rolling around, and my 2-year-old will run like the Terminator's chasing after him.
Smart.
So he knows, he's already been programmed to fear robots. I'm trying to make it a little bit more healthy so he understands that, hey, you turn that thing on, it's going to come after you.
Has he ever seen it start up by itself?
I don't have Wi-Fi connectivity. It's an old version. You still have to push the button to start it. Yeah. It doesn't just like detect dirt and start going to work. I think some of them do that though. Like I'm tempted to get the one that does like mops my floors, because now I've got all tile floors, and that'd be relevant to just keep my floors clean, because kids drop stuff all day long. Yeah. So the time travel into the future. Yeah. I think the time travel is relevant in simulations. I think you could simulate time travel.
Yeah.
Enough where you could trick a human into believing that you're past. What if you could tap into your subconscious enough, or your repressed memories enough, and aid with computer augmentation, you could effectively time travel in your life and revisit times.
If you look at Star Trek, you ever watch Star Trek?
I'm familiar with, honestly, I never became a fan. I love all things sci-fi, but for some reason, Star Trek eluded me.
I mean, they literally have a room where you can go in and recreate anything. And a lot of times people would go, it's just like a recreational thing, or sometimes they would do it to try to research a problem. But a lot of times they would program past things. Like, for example, Captain Picard, he loved the old, like 30s and 40s gangster stuff. So he would always go in and that would be his thing. He'd play this gangster, but it was absolutely 100% realistic. It's called the holodeck.
Oh, right. I remember hearing that. Yeah. So it's basically like he'd be entering Westworld in his augmented reality effectively.
Yeah, he'd be a gangster in the 30s, and everybody in the holodeck, all the computer characters, they would know him as that character he's playing. And it would just be 100% realistic. And there's been episodes where people get, like you said, it becomes their reality and they get stuck. And somebody has to come in there and shut it down.
And that's what happens in Westworld too, right?
Yeah, they get so wrapped up in it. And it's like, you got to remember, you're on the holodeck. This isn't really real. But the crazy part about the holodeck is you can smell, taste, feel, you eat, drink, and everything. Only thing that couldn't happen is you could be hurt, but you couldn't be killed. Although there's been episodes where things were happening. But anyway, the safety protocols in place was that.
So we're kind of getting there, right? I mean, people are doing this with video games. I mean, years and years ago, that game Second Life came out, and people became like Second Life millionaires in real life.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we're seeing it. And then it's true. You're like, when you're in there, when you're, because I play video games too. When you're in there, you have like a different video game persona, right? You're this guy that's trying to get your max kill death ratios or create the most money or build the biggest village or whatever you're trying to do. And you get to be engrossed in that world. I'd been semi addicted to Red Dead Redemption 2, which the Red Dead Redemption 1 I liked a lot because I liked pretending I was a cowboy riding a horse, shooting Indians.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Yeah. So, it's fun. And then, you put some headphones on, you keep the kids at bay. You can kind of immerse yourself in that world, even though if it's in the screen. I can only imagine how good it's going to get when you start using virtual reality and handsets and headsets, and there's some things tapped into your brain that make you feel, smell, sound, touch things or make the perception of it. But your perception is reality. So we're right there where you could have simulated time travel. We could have simulated experiences, and it could be so vivid, so real that your brain and or your body might not know the difference.
Because once again, like I said from the beginning, time is relative to you.
Yeah.
So that's why that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. There's, and I've chatted with this on another episode with one of my friends, Alex, on this Dan Brown book named Origins. And in it, they create some supercomputers and they run simulations from back to the beginning of the planet formation up through the future and what happens. And the simulations kind of, are time traveling in that sense. And so I think, scientists do that to an extent too, right? When we're trying to recreate what happened, right? We know the dinosaurs got wiped out because of an asteroid 65 million years ago. We didn't go back there in time to do it, but by doing a little bit of research and investigations and scientific methods, they're able to figure that out, which is almost as good as time travel into the past.
Well, you hear them say that all the time. It's like traveling back in time when we discovered this stuff.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And that's as close as you can get. I think I agree with you. I think that actual traveling in time is not really feasible for human bodies to manage.
I would say it's literally impossible. Like I said, the past travel is where I really have the objections to. That's impossible. And then you would always have these movies where they would invent some machine, like H.G. Wells, The Time Machine. That's not. Because what is that machine doing that's taking you back in time? And it's always this physical box.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's great fantasy or whatnot, but realistically, no.
So we're not doing time travel. But I'll argue that in simulations, we could do time travel.
Yeah.
With video games, with things like Westworld that are coming so real. There's places that are popping up. There's one near my place here in San Diego called Sandbox, and it's a retail place in a mall. You walk into a room, you wear your gear, you got the gun, and you go through a zombie. And, it's like the augmented reality video game type stuff. And I haven't done it personally, but I've had friends that have done it, and they're like, it's super immersive. It feels like you're in there. They give you little haptic feedback. So when things touch you, you get little vibrations and stuff. And so it feels like a zombie's on your back. I mean, you're basically there. And so having these kind of experiences can transport your mind into different places, experiences, worlds.
Yeah.
And then you're living it. It's worth doing though, isn't it?
Well, it's fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun, but yeah.
It's fun. And now they're doing stuff like that with augmented reality for education, right? You hear of doctors and medical schools doing it so you can kind of get better hands-on feel for anatomy and for surgeries or for whatever else they're teaching versus always having to rip open a cadaver.
Well, they were also doing, I think, unfortunately, I believe Google killed it, places where you could go to like museums and whatnot using, they would use it in the classroom. Yeah. And you would just move around and you could look around on your device, whether it's a tablet or a cell phone, and it would look like you're right there in the museum or whatnot.
That's too bad they're not doing it anymore. How much more relevant would that be when we're on lockdown with COVID-19 and everything's closed than having virtual access to everything?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Google has this bad reputation of killing things that people like. So
yeah, that's true. They're always in Google Labs and they tried it and then they couldn't figure out how to make money off of it. It's easy. Put some advertising in there. You know how to do it.
I mean, I'm a full-fledged Google nut. I mean, but there's even a website called Killed by Google where they just keep track of all the things that Google has killed off over the years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what's that PlayStation controller doing back there?
That's not PlayStation, my friend. This is Google Stadia, which is actually extremely good.
It's a new video game system. I've never heard of this one.
It's all cloud based.
Google Stadia.
Yeah, you can play it on anything that can render video. Now you want something that's pretty good. I tend to play on my Pixelbook, but you can play it on a Chromecast Ultra. And I don't know if you heard the kerfuffle about Cyberpunk 2077. At this point, Stadia is pretty much the best and only place you can play it, unless you got a new Xbox or a new PlayStation.
Interesting. I cannot believe I've never heard of this. I've been a video game player since I was a kid, and I've never heard of Google Stadia. Stadia.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's the bee's knees.
Okay, so you just buy this controller, and then it's all web-based. Am I paying a subscription? What do they got you on?
So there's a free tier, but you buy the game, and then the game is yours in Stadia. But I would encourage people. So what was about in October, Google sent me an email and they said, hey, we'll give you 3 months of Pro for free. And the Pro tier is $9.99 a month. And what happens is they will say, okay, there's 3 games now available to you in Pro, and you just go claim them. So I ended up, I have like 20 games for free, but I pay $9.99 a month, but still.
So it's kind of like Xbox Gold in that sense. This is like a free games, and you kind of get potentially kind of rinky dink games, maybe not the premium stuff.
Yeah, well, they've partnered. I think Ubisoft was next on board, but the whole Cyberpunk 2077 thing was huge. So,
wow. Well, so this podcast took a turn, but I'm extremely excited to learn about Google Stadia. Because a part of the reason is like I got a 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, and some of these games are a little too complicated. I want kind of like the option to play good old fashioned like Donkey Kong. I guess I could do, like a one of those what are those called when you get like an old NES sim type thing?
Oh yeah, do you know they sell old NESs that have all the games already built into them?
Yeah, it has like 1,000 games built into it or something.
Yeah.
No, I've seen those, and they've got like black market ones too. They're like $20 or $50 or whatever it is. And yeah, no, it's interesting. Okay, cool. So Stadia's a quick side tangent on our time travel, but when are they going to do augmented reality where we're traveling into our futures and our pasts? Elon Musk rolls out Neuralink. Next thing I know, this thing's connected to our brain, and now we are traveling into our past. That could be insightful, huh?
I don't want that though.
Well, maybe we're not the first to get it, but eventually they'll just have everyone do it, right? I mean, it's going to happen. NSA is going to demand it of us.
See, I knew you were going to go there. I was going to say it better be all voluntary. It cannot be a requirement.
Yeah, they'll figure out a way to do it, right? There's something wrong with your brain, and we need Neuralink to fix it, and it's required for everyone because it's a national health risk if you don't have Neuralink.
And I agree with you there. That's how things tend to get pushed on people. Well, they will glorify a benefit to you, and then people will go, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. I should do that." Yeah,
we got to do this, right? And they'll get some celebrities to do it, and then everyone's on board.
Yep. All the cool kids are doing it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Leo, that was awesome. Thank you for spending some time chatting with me. We've kind of debunked the theory that time travel is possible and or plausible, but I would argue that there's alternatives that are almost as good, and that sleeping through it is just almost like time travel.
It is. Yeah. And if I could take a 50-year nap, I would take it. If it were just a nap.
Yeah, but then you're going to miss your kids growing up and getting married and having their own kids. And so that's
I'm exaggerating. Because I never get a nap and I want one.
Oh yeah. I try to squeeze in a nap every once in a while. I would say 2 to 3 naps per month. I do get in a few naps just so remind me how good a nap is.
Yeah. I'll say that. Yeah, I'll probably get like 2 or 3 a month too.
Yeah,
I need more. I need more naps.
No, I'd like more naps. They keep pushing. The science all says you should take a nap after lunch to reboot your brain, and that's when you get your best insights and best creativity. It's just easier said than done when you've got a schedule and emails and a phone that rings and places to be. And
little people who want to eat in your house.
those little people always have demands. It doesn't go 45 seconds before they're yelling at you for something else.
Exactly.
I just want them to say please and thank you once in a while. And it's always like, give me snacks, give me toys. I need this. I'm like,
and you have to do it. Otherwise you get in trouble.
I don't know. I'm trying to push back. I'm going to put my foot down because parents have rights too.
Yes.
Leo, thank you for joining me on this another great episode of
Anytime.
I've Got a Theory. Catch you next time.
All righty. Thanks.
Do not become attached to the signal, for the signal belongs to no one. 3 days from now, you will have an important revelation. Knowing this, there is something I need you to do for me.